What's up? Welcome back to the channel. Discover Power Sports. Steven here. Got the 2022. Moving my dial dynamics that I had on the sides, kind of like Bryce's. Kind of got this rack going here. This guy, it's a light pod rack. It's a lot thinner and flimsier than I like, so I think I'm going to run it for a little while. 2 bolt holes isn't going to kill anything, and eventually I'm going to do the roof rack. Like I said earlier, I think one thing this will need is I'll probably have to put a backing here of a thicker piece of strap to kind of strengthen this bar, because honestly it's kind of rinky dink and I'm sure there's going to be some vibration. So we're going to swap everything to grade 8 that we can, as far as the mounting hardware, instead of the cheaper zinc stuff that we've got, and slap her on there and see what she looks like. I think temporarily it'll be fine. I just definitely want to get the lights up higher and out of the way in the view of the mirrors and everything like that, and we'll see what it looks like. I think it'll work and it'll be functional. Won't be the prettiest thing in the world, but that's okay. It's an off-road machine. I think once we get the roof on there, mock them up actually to the roof and get them even higher above the front of the unit, I think that'll cast more light and really let these things shine with just how bright they can be. So I'm gonna get that swapped out and put on here, drill some holes. So I'm just going with these basic light bar feet. We'll see how they hold up. That's a gamble there. And then this is just a pod bracket for a Jeep or something, and then obviously my dial dynamics are here. Got these guys going straight forward. These are the Maxes here, and then I've got my Pros tilted, and you can see the brackets opposite direction, allowing it to kind of point out instead of just straight ahead. So you can kind of see a little bit of how that looks. They're just a little bit tilted out, so we can get some light off to the sides. I've got some holes marked. As you can see, there's a harness hanging down. So I'm going to drill these 2 holes and get her as straight as we can and commit it. And like I said, we'll rock with it and see how she does. So I'm going to get a bit in the old DeWalt and get some Swiss cheese going. So mocked up, not half bad. Gets them all centralized and off the sides. So I think I can live with it for now. Of course, we'll have to aim these guys accordingly, do a little fine tuning on that, but mocked up, not too bad. Just need to tighten everything up. Just put some massive washers here on the inside to hold it down. Swap the hardware out to grade 8. Kind of overkill anyways. It's just, I'm more worried about vibration than anything. So we'll get, I gotta extend this piece of the harness a little bit, which is what it is. Gonna have to do it anyways whenever we put a rack up there. Maybe just retire that harness altogether, because that is off of the 2020 that I had. But anyways, functional, looks all right, gets them off the sides. I don't think it's my long-term solution, but honestly, not too bad. All right, got them on. Now we just need to get them dialed in, so take her down the road to the property, get them aimed, see what the spread looks like, and at least rock it for a little while. Doesn't look half bad, in all honesty. Super cheap. I think I'm maybe $30 into that, so not bad. But we gotta get through the fine tuning, aim them, tighten them up, snug them up, and commit it. So, got some darkness outside, so we rip. She's looking slick, pretty dialed. Pretty dang bright. I mean, as you can see as I rotate, kind of how the light's aiming direct, so those outsides are kind of pitched out. I think I'm gonna bring them out more, because as you can see, it's casting a pretty good light shed, and it's still dusk out here. But it looks sharp. Not too bad. I think I'm gonna crank the bar back a little bit more, because you're getting a little bit of shed over here on the windshield area. But all in all, not bad. Nice Texas sunset in the back. It's really kind of a last few warm days before we get into the teens and the negative wind chill later next week. So Pretty sharp, kind of. I like it. I dig it. I really didn't like them on the post. They looked cool for a while. It was definitely different because no one was really doing that. There not many folks were. But when you run in conjunction with the windshield and the mirrors and everything like that, it's just not conducive. So this machine's got 660 miles on it, so I'm going to do a love-hate and kind of a mileage update. You know, I'm not going to do a 500 mile update like everybody else. We're going to do a 660 plus mile update on this unit. So she actually started, no electrical issues, no gremlins right now. It still does need to go back to Lipscomb. You should see that crew. They've got a lot of Can-Am stuff, KTM stuff at that shop. Awesome folks there. So I got to get back to Skip and the crew in the shop and get that new belly skid plate put on, the thicker one that I wanted originally. And they're going to hook me up with a couple keys for it as well. So go see those folks if you get the chance. But she looks pretty sharp, so we're going to run around a little bit and test out the vibration to make sure we got it tight. Do a little more aiming. Oh yeah. The old decoration. Going out here on the gate. It's almost Christmas time, folks. It's a pretty good light pattern with these guys. Turn those out, like I said, probably just a smidge more. I kind of got them cranked a little bit, but I still got a little bit more room before they kind of tip towards the end of the bracket. So not bad. Again, those are Dial Dynamic SS3s. Those are Maxes in the middle, Pros on the outside, and Pros on the front. Those are all driving combo setups. You can check those out at discoverpowersports.com. We've also got some other videos showing these off. Really proud of them, obviously. They're worth the money. I just love the quality, everything that comes packaged with them. So a lot of good light out of these suckers. So she looks pretty good. I'm pumped. Be good to get in a wash with this thing or somewhere we need a little bit more lighting before we run out of room, like over here in Texas. Well, went ahead and changed the wiper out too. So from this little bitty guy here comes factory on it. As you can see, that's an 18-inch, I think from a 13-inch. This is a Michelin version. Bryce has the Rain-X version, you know, just a measly 17-inch versus my monstrous 18-inch, and we know bigger is better. So it's gonna look good up there with the old little light pod bar. Keeping some water off this sucker, so pretty slick. And I like obviously the mono beam look, so a lot cleaner than this little guy. Did his job, but I like that look a lot better on this sucker. So new day here. We've got the lights dialed in, windshield wiper on, and now I kind of want to talk a little bit about the machine. I mentioned, hey, doing a 600 and something mile update versus everyone that does the normal 500 mile update. So I'm going to go over that real quick, but all in all, it's been a great unit. Can't really complain. Not a whole lot of failures, you know, just the normal stuff that everyone's running into. You know, the P drive is always engaged. I've had that electrical gremlin. I haven't heard a ton about it, but really what's killing people is just part shortages on electrical components for these things. And the voltage regulator, unfortunately, Lipscomb really pushed hard with their folks, you know, Can-Am's, state leader, whatever they call it, region leader, reached out and expedited getting it to me. So that was having this thing down for pretty much 3 months, which isn't the dealer's fault, and things are made by a man. It sucks having to wait that long, but it is what it is. So Lipscomb got me hooked up, Can-Am reached out, made it right. That's really the only issues I've had with this thing. Just been some electrical gremlins, and that's kind of been the story of even my 2020. You know, it had a few charging issues and things like that as well that we sussed out was just bad wiring in it. And then obviously I only blew my plastic plenum, but this one, it's been great. I can't complain. Suspension's working like it should, no issues there. Smart lock, no issues there. So all the other electronics are good. It was just that charging issue from the voltage regulator on this thing. So I'm going to walk around here and just point a few things out about this sucker at 660.4 miles. So right off the bat here, I'll talk a little bit about the carnivores. So going up in size on these things and matching the wheel size all the way around and tire size compared to the 2020s. They've done pretty well, the Carnivores. I will tell you, they do not like the street. I need to rotate these very badly. Those suckers do great in really everything. I had them in the dunes, had them on the street. Really don't recommend that because they're a little soft and a little aggressive, but you know, they do about as well as the Bighorns did on my 2020. So I do like the being able to rotate these. It's pretty freaking handy, especially that way you get those front ones that don't have a whole lot of wear slapped onto the back, and really utilize them without just having to buy half a set every time, or you know, not getting rid of all the good on the front. So all in all, it's been a great tire. I mean, even rocks, airing down on rocks, run about 6 to 8 psi on these things really all the time, but I can't really complain about them. I mean, they did pretty well. They've held up on the KRX as well. Obviously not near as many miles as mine, but the Carnivores, all in all, I dig them. I was obviously a big die-hard Bighorn fan. Just a great tire all around. That's why it's really the most prolific OEM tire ever. But I can't complain about these Carnivores. They've held on pretty well. Don't know if I'm going to go back with these or go something a bit DOT approved, because we do a lot of street driving out of state. But we'll see. We'll see. I may get another set, but I definitely think I've got another 1,000 miles left in them, easily, especially if I rotate them. But I can see getting 2,500 miles, 3,000 miles out of these things just by being a little conservative on the road. And I've sent this thing pretty hard and left a lot of black streaks with these back ones lately, even in the rain, and until it bit down and started smoking. So they've held up all in all pretty well, because I haven't been that friendly to them. So tires, I will say, that's one of the things you'll have to watch for on these, but the wear is not that bad. So another issue with these usually is a little bit of alignment on the doors after a certain amount of miles. This sucker's been fine. It hasn't done what my 2020 did, and it's just the constant squeak from these guys just not being adjusted perfectly and rubbing, but they've done great. I've given it really the same level of abuse, but as soon as my 2020, I had it in the wet and maybe the break-in done, it was already squeaking. The doors were squeaking and rattling, and it drove me nuts. I had to put my knee into the side of the door to hold it tight against that latch, and then I eventually, even after adjusting it, I had to put tape around here just to keep it from vibrating, squeaking, and it drove me nuts. So same thing, typical, you know, OEM stuff. Sometimes I forget to tighten things on the cage, but once I got a few things tightened that were a little loose and torqued down, it hasn't been near as squeaky on the body and the frame and things like that. One other thing that was squeaky, and it's just the going rate with all these Can-Ams, these X3s, was the stabilizer up here. So the sway bar, these links that go into these arms, obviously you're going to want to hit those, whether you buy it brand new or every maintenance, just hit those. Unless you don't run them. A lot of guys that want a little bit more articulation don't run them, but I had to do that, I don't know, probably 400 miles ago. It was popping very aggressively. If you got that front end pop, you can feel it in the steering wheel, you can feel it through the pedal, feel it through the floor. It's usually that sway bar, those links, so you definitely want to get those tightened. Or if you don't want to run them, just loosen them and roll those back and just zip tie them, and you can still keep that sucker in there in case you want to take it to the track and you don't need all that body roll or articulation, the extra suspension drop. So that's another thing that kind of drove me nuts, you know, but everything is working electronic wise. So the smart shocks, no issues. Golly, the smart lock is working great, no issues there, none at all with it. So it's actually super clean. And you know, I run that for, golly, probably 100 miles in the dunes, just constant ripping. So can't say anything bad about that. And this is the second unit I had with smart lock, the 2020 I had, and it worked great. I was getting probably about 1,500 miles. I was getting smart lock messages on my 2020. This one I haven't had them on. It would just throw the smart lock, but there would be nothing wrong with it every time I had it looked at, and it just didn't like it. But nothing so far yet with this machine. So on this machine, obviously, I think we've talked about it before on Bryce's 5 things he liked, 5 things he hated was the clutch noise. So after 660 miles, I'm not near as deaf as I was in my XDS, my 2020, because it has that muffler here to cut down on the noise. So that's been great. I've had no belt issues at all, even with the P drive staying engaged. I will say that's probably one of the things that drives me nuts, is that it's staying engaged. It's noted issue with Can-Am. I know they got a service bulletin out on it. They're going to look at it at Lipscomb when I get it up there. But it kind of is what it is at this point. It's not killing anything, and it can be fixed. It can be replaced as needed. So I've got it noted as an issue. It's constantly spinning and being engaged. So definitely drives me nuts. But it did that almost instantly. So even at 660 miles, it is still doing it, and it's just staying engaged longer. Now the clutch is super smooth as always with that P drive and that engagement. Not near as jerky as the old school clutch, so I can't complain. But all in all, no issues with it yet. No belt issues running original OEM Can-Am belt. I plan to for at least till 1,000 miles, and then I'll give her an inspection. Probably always when I do the next oil change, I'll pull that case off and check the belt, clean everything up, blow it out, get all that dust out of there. So no issues with the belt, no issues with the running gear. The engine's been great. Clutch system has been great. CVT system's been great. 4-wheel drive system's been great. Again, the only gremlin I had was this little guy right here, that voltage regulator, and that would just not allow the magneto or the upgraded 850 watt setup on this thing to charge the battery. And so I swapped to lithium anti-gravity, put that on, and she's been doing great. No issues at all. So I'm pretty pleased with it. But all in all, great rig. No issues. All the plastics are holding up. I'm not super happy about this guy down here and just some of the cheaper stuff on the inside of this. But what are you going to do? It's an off-road machine. Things are going to squeak. Things are going to get scraped up. It's going to get damaged. That's what we buy them for. So, you can't have it all. But interior's held up great. Same thing it happened on my, 2020. No issues with the interior, the upholstery. I love the seats. Nothing's going wrong with this thing. It's not leaking anything. No major issues. So I'll say the 2022 has been a great upgrade from my 2020. Just minor things. Of course, going from an XDS to an XRS is just a big difference in itself, just on ride, let alone jumping into the Smart Shocks with these things. So excited about that. So last thing I really talk about as far as my 660 update, I actually got 664 miles on this puppy, 660.4, is the steering. I think that's an issue with a lot of these things. Obviously, people running braces, people running new racks, all different things. But I've had no issues with it so far. Again, not super spirited on driving. I'm not racing this thing, but it's held up fine. The little DPS system, so no issues there yet, but we'll see. At 2,000 miles on my other unit and seeing what Bryce has done, it's running fine for us. No major issues there. Can't complain. So all in all, I'm very pleased with it at this juncture. No issues. It's a great looking machine. I don't know how they do any better or improve on this design. It just is a great machine. It's just beautiful to look at. It just looks like it's going 100 miles an hour standing still. So pumped about it. And I hope I can put a lot more mileage, because I may keep this one. I like to return them every 2 years and get something else and upgrade, but I really enjoy this color scheme and the layout of it, and I just think it looks amazing. And I'll probably just end up keeping this guy. And maybe we'll get something else if Can-Am upgrades and just have another unit for the fleet. But all in all, it's a highly recommend getting into one of these if you're looking. And again, the power is more than anybody would ever really need, especially here in Texas, where you can't even wrap them out without being into a fence line or an obstacle. So even just the base models, man, are amazing, and just come a long way. Just thinking 100 horsepower was an incredible amount to what they are today. They've just come such a long way in such a short amount of time. So highly recommend. No issues. 666.4 miles in. Gonna have a lot more fun with this thing. Oh, full Jeremy forgot he had this thing. Let's check this sucker out. It hadn't been started in a few weeks. Boom. We got 289.9 miles on this puppy. It's a good looking Kawasaki right there. Need to get her checked over, get her ready for the racetrack. I love this thing. This is a great economical unit for someone that's looking for something that can do just about everything. Not a speed demon, but man, I love this sucker. That sucker paced this one and Bryce's 2020 in Arkansas. And, you know, we were doing everything we could just to keep up. Of course, unfamiliar with the terrain, but it was hilarious just how well this sucker did. Pretty sweet machine. She popped right off, too. That Kawasaki right there. All reliable. So last thing I want to say, check out the channel. Like, share, subscribe. We're going to have a giveaway at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're going to give out some Dial Dynamic SS2s. So check those out. Also got a couple other little giveaways we're going to do on the channel and on our social media. But check us out, discoverpowersports.com. We sell our Dial Dynamics products, the belts that we run, among many other things. You want a good price? Hey, send us a message. We can do better. We can match. We'd just love to have the business and appreciate every one of y'all. Over 600 of y'all subscribing right now and growing. We're really going to invest in the channel and in equipment and in these machines to provide some real life tests and situations on the products that we sell and we endorse. We're two regular dudes, day jobs, having fun, doing what we love, which is with these machines and doing it with our friends and family. So check us out and happy holidays. Have a couple more videos rolling out and everything like that. So stay tuned for all that. Appreciate it.